Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome to the rundown. Hey, this is going to be awesome. Everybody that has been following the rundown for a long time. Obviously, Ralph is an original member of the rundown, and we've got Ralph Dellavecchio with us. Frank Vespi, me and him got together with After Hours. We go way back. We always hear the stories about me and him going back to high school, and it's going to be three of us together tonight. So shit should get crazy. The shenanigans will be off the charts, and
as it always does.
Hope exactly like prayers for everybody tonight. I've been told I'm allowed to curse. I've been told I'm allowed to drink on the air. So you never know what could happen. After Brian Wilson broke down a lot of barriers, guys. I don't know if you guys know this.
Yeah.
I would hope you did. But, he's been posting shit as Drunk Willie for a couple, at least a week now or so, I guess, since sports went off the air. And I feel like he's the one that created all this. So since he was the one that started it with all of his Drunk Willie posts, we now get to be drunk on the air if we want to.
And talk sports.
Why not?
And court.
And talk whatever. This is what's great about us, and great about this, the three of us, is that we can talk more than just sports. We have a lot of different things we're into. Ralph, me and you, Frank, you're into game. You're a gamer too, but not on the level Ralph is. Neither one of us is on the level of Ralph. But I play a lot of video games. People don't understand. I don't really talk about it, but I play a lot of video games. It's kind of sad how many video games I play. So we can talk sports. We can talk video games. There's a lot of different things. Frank, you're a pop culture expert. There's a lot of different things that we can talk, and we can entertain the masses. And that's what we're about here at Agree to Disagree. Entertaining the masses.
Yeah. And talking sports, That's what we do.
Well, Ralph, it doesn't necessarily be sports. Why do you keep bringing up the sports? I mean, for example, if we're trying to stick to a script, the poll question tonight is video games are the best quarantine activity. Do you agree or disagree with that? Because Ralph, I would hope you agree with that. That's what you do. You claim to be a gamer, so I would hope that that's your quarantine activity. For me, video games are definitely my best quarantine activity. You can only watch so many Law and Order episodes, instead, and you gotta find something else to do. So video games becomes my escape. Frank, you're laughing. I don't know why Frank's laughing, as if he's not a big gamer. But if we're doing top five,
no. I see a comment that was making me laugh.
Well, I don't see the comment. What's the comment say?
You'll wait and see.
So far we got Andy. My dudes, have a great show. Thanks, Andy.
Andy Ritter's here. My dudes, have a great show. I don't know why that made you laugh, Frank. What the hell's wrong now? Drunk Willie is great. Oh, yeah, that's funny, yes. Drunk Willie is awesome. Yeah.
And Brodo coming in, saying bagels. Do you like bagels?
Yeah, bagels.
Okay, this must be some sort of inside joke I don't understand.
Nope, just bagels.
Just bagels, okay. See, you're going to have to understand here, Frank and Ralph, both of y'all. I've got a lot of followers that listen and watch down here in Florida. And there's not a lot of Jews down here in Florida, the same way there is up in the Northeast. And bagels is not one of those things that's as popular down here as it is in the Northeast. We just take bagels and we throw it in the toaster and we smother it with cream cheese and we go to town on it. They don't do that down here. They don't understand that it's a breakfast dish of that kind. So you got to be careful talking about bagels. You got to explain to the masses exactly what the hell we're talking about.
Bagels. Kevin Godwin says, "What up, my guys? What up, Kevin?" Brodo says, "No, I'm currently eating bagels."
Bagels are good.
Yeah. See, this is what I'm talking about. It's normal to eat bagels at 9 o'clock at night in the Northeast. That's not normal down where I'm here. Where I'm down here in Florida in the Tampa area, it's not normal to eat bagels at 9 o'clock at night. They don't do that down here.
Nah, that's crazy.
It's not crazy. Well, I guess to us, yeah, but it's not. If you came down here, you'd understand.
Jake says, "What up, fellas? Have a great show." Thanks, Jake.
Thanks, Jake.
Yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. I'm actually really excited about all of this. So maybe we'll throw this is my idea for the top five. If we're leading with the top five quarantine activities, I figured one of the cool things to do with that is let's just throw out ideas, throw out whatever you want it to be, as far as a great quarantine activity, and we'll let the people decide whether it belongs in the top 5. We'll let all the comments, we'll let people in the comment section.
Do you play in the band?
We'll let them decide whether it belongs in the top 5. So I figured that could be a theme throughout the show, is we're just going to throw out ideas. Like, for example, since this is agree to disagree, sex. Sex has got to be one of the top 5 quarantine activities. You two might not know anything about that, but as somebody that's I've been in a relationship for 5 years. I know damn well one of the best activities you can have during this quarantine period.
Brodo says, but there was sale on bagels. The Northeast love sales.
Well, you know who loves sales? I'm not going to say it. We've already said it once. I'm not going to get us in any more. I've been told I can say whatever I want. And Frank, you know how that works. Ralph, I mean, you spent enough time with me. Don't tell me I can say whatever I want and then get mad when I say whatever I want. I mean, that's a dangerous thing to tell me, is to say, oh, you can say whatever you want until I offend a certain group of people. Frank, you went to high school with me. That happened quite often when we were together.
No comment.
You know what's cool about the rundown is, Mr. Cooper listens every once in a while. Other than that, there's not really anybody from Dome that listens.
True.
But I have a lot of people that knew me from Florence that listen, so it's all good. I can talk as much shit as I want.
So Philly fan 2003 says, which team do you hate the most, Cowboys or Giants, Zach?
Oh, I hate the Cowboys the most, of course. I mean,
tell us why.
I actually enjoy the Eagles-Giants rivalry. I think the Eagles-Giants rivalry is fun. I think we always play great games together. It's always close. There's always something. Think about it. We had the Miracle at the Meadowlands way back when. To me, Miracle at the Meadowlands #2 is when Brian Westbrook returned the punt when I was 10 years old in 2003. Frank, you were a little bit older. Ralph, you were a little bit younger. Yeah. Brian Westbrook returned the punt late in that game. We win that game. And then obviously everybody remembers the Deshaun Jackson punt return, and that's, for me, that's Miracle at the Meadowlands #3. You've got the Jake Elliott 61-yard field goal. I mean, there's so many great Eagles-Giants games. There's a game I remember from my youth. I maybe was 7 or 8 years old, maybe 2001 or so. And I remember it because I went skiing in the Poconos with my family. And the Eagles-Giants were playing a close game, and late the Giants did some trick play. It was like a hook and lateral, and they nearly ran it in for a touchdown. And we tackled them at like the 1-yard line. Al Harris made the play. We always seem to play tight games with the Giants. I enjoy that rivalry. The Cowboys, it's gotten to the point where, like, I don't give a fuck about the wins or losses with the Cowboys. I care more about, the interaction with Cowboys fans and the idea that I can sit there and talk shit with Cowboys fans throughout the week.
Yeah, Kevin wants to what's the feel down there about Brady and the division I would breed.
Oh, well, I mean, obviously people are excited. I'll tell you this, though. Before Brady signed, and I was kind of, the rumors of the Bucs were obviously one of the teams that were rumored to be a Brady destination for a couple months now. You had the Raiders, the Chargers, the Bucs. There was a few teams in there. Up until when Brady signed this contract, everybody down here in Tampa that I've talked to, they were all for giving Jameis Winston $30 million a year. Every single one of them. They loved the idea. Oh, Jameis, everybody's giving Jameis a bad rep. Yeah, you need to give him that money. He's earned it. I was going to laugh out loud if they really gave Jameis Winston $30 million. Think about it. They gave Tom Brady $30 million.
Well,
they were going to
even worth that money.
$30 million to go along with his 30 turnovers.
Winston's not worth that money.
Well, no kidding. But that's what he was going to ask for. And if the Buccaneers struck out on Brady and he went to the Raiders or the Chargers, what do you think's going to happen? The Bucs are absolutely going to give Jameis that money.
I don't know. I don't think they would have.
What else were they going to do? What were they going to do? Go draft somebody? Come on.
Well, I mean, they're sitting right there. It's a possibility they can move up and get somebody.
Who are they going to do to move up in the first round? To move up to get a quarterback, at least you always need to have at least 2 first-round picks. I mean, that seems to always be the way it works. You need to have, a 15th to go along with the 25th or something like that. You can't just trade a 15th and a second and a third. Like, that usually isn't the way it works. It depends, I guess, on who you want to draft. But of the guys that of the guys that we talk about as the quarterbacks that we know will step in day one and start, the Joe Burrows. I'm not as high on Tua as a lot of other people seem to be, but a lot of people think Tua could step in day one and start. Those types of names. Even the Justin Herbert from Oregon and Jordan Love from Utah State.
Who came out of nowhere? Who came out of nowhere, by the way? Jordan Love.
Well, he had a great year 2 years ago.
I don't know.
Here's the problem when you play. Here's the problem when you play at a place like Utah State. 2 years ago he had a great year. This year he didn't. But coaching can always come to that when you're playing at a place like Utah State. You never know the type of coaching that goes into it. But because of that, they're talking about a guy like Jordan, a guy like Herbert. They're not going to be. They can't step into a system right away. They're literally talking about the Chargers. All the mock drafts have the Chargers draft and Herbert, and they're going to have Tyrod week 1. Yeah, see, everybody's kind of – we're all kind of going in and out a little bit. What's the talk with the Chargers? They're going to have Tyrod Taylor start week 1, and then all the mock drafts have them taking a guy like Herbert and maybe having him sitting a year behind Taylor as Taylor starts. So really, there's only guys.
I agree with that. They are probably going to start off with Herbert. I know one mock draft had them taking Jordan Love. Another also brought up the idea of Tua going to the Chargers as well. So anybody at this point can go to the Chargers. Kevin
said 30 mil for 30 and 30, Zach. That's what I'm saying, Kevin. This kid right here is crazy. He's going to give him $30 million to Jameis Winston. Are you crazy?
Well, I'm telling you what the buzz was down here. That wasn't unrealistic. I thought it was crazy too. But I'm telling you,
that's what bad organizations do, though.
Yep.
Okay, you're right there. Yeah, that's exactly what bad organizations do. But apparently they're not a bad organization anymore because they decided to cut ties with Jameis and they brought in the greatest of all time. So, but does this not have the same feel? Frank, you'll probably appreciate this a little bit more than Ralph. Not because Ralph isn't as educated, but just because Ralph's a little younger. But does this not have the same feel of when the Chiefs signed Joe Montana and brought Joe Montana into Kansas City back in the day? I mean, does this not have that type of feel when you bring in that type of quarterback?
It's got those vibes.
Over the hump?
Yeah. It's got those vibes to it.
Montana was supposed to get Kansas City over the hump. That's kind of what this is supposed to do, is it not, for Tampa?
Well, and the difference is, Tom Brady, he's got 6 Super Bowl rings. He deserves that money, and he's 43 years old, right? And he finally happened. The weapons that he's going to have in Tampa Bay are going to be far better of what he had last year in New England, and O.J. Howard, Chris Godwin, and Mike Evans. So
he's got some filthy weapons.
He's got a lot of weapons. And, of course, you also have a tight end tandem of O.J. Howard and I believe Cameron Brate's still on the Buccaneers.
So. And Brady's always been great with those two tight end sets. But one thing, here's where Tampa could be dangerous this year. One thing Brady's going to do is he's going to take care of the football. And Tampa's a team that had 40 turnovers last year. 40. The 30 interceptions, obviously, that go along with 10 lost fumbles. 40 turnovers. If they cut that number in half, which with Brady as your quarterback, there's a really good chance they cut that number in half. They were an 8-8 football team a year ago, 7-9.
Yeah, they were 7-9. Yeah.
If they cut that turnover number in half, then they probably win 11 games.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Here's the thing, Frank. You'll know this. Coach Dan, Dan Williamson's a big Bucs fan, so he's obviously been all over this Brady thing. One of the big things he was arguing with everybody that wanted to bring Winston back was he stated, one of the big things in the NFL, and he's 100% right with this, is probably 75% of the time, the team that wins the turnover battle in the football game ends up winning the football game. Not every time, obviously, but if 75% of the time the team with less turnovers is winning a football game, that's a pretty good percentage. And if, Jameis Winston's throwing 30 interceptions in a year, you're pretty much spotting the other team one turnover every single game. Think about it, 30 interceptions. That's almost twice the number of games you're playing. So he's nearly spotting the other team one turnover every game. If you cut that number in half and now you say Tampa is winning the turnover battle more times than not, with Bruce Arians as their head coach, I think there's a really good chance they're a great football team this year.
So Philly fan 2003 says, I don't think Howie would trade up for a wide receiver or even get a good one because Howie's history for wide receivers have been awful. And he's missed so many chances on good wide receivers. And it's true. It's very true.
Is it true?
It is, though. Look at the wide receivers that we drafted in the last 10 years, though, dude. Marty McNutt, Riley Cooper, Josh Huff, Jordan Matthews.
First of all, his name was Marvin McNutt, and he was from Iowa.
Okay, sorry.
Who the fuck is Marty McNutt? Who the fuck's that guy?
That's what I'm saying. His name was Marvin McNutt.
That's
what I'm saying. Yeah.
Marvin McNutt, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, who is
the bottom line is
because he can't draft. He stinks.
His drafting has not been best.
So Miles Sanders wasn't a good hit in the second round.
I'm talking about wide receivers, Zach. He can't hit on that.
Well, wide receiver hasn't been a strong. I mean, think about the drafts that we've gone through where wide receiver has been a position of need or a position of strength, I should say, not position of need, a position of strength in the draft where you've looked at the draft and said that's been a position of strength. I remember when they drafted Zach Ertz in the second round and everybody bitched about it and complained about it and said that was a bad draft pick. And when he drafted Zach Ertz.
Now look at him.
Yeah.
Look at him now. He's all pro every single year.
Well, that's my point. So if everybody was bitching about Zach Ertz as a draft pick, I actually had somebody call me and complain about Zach Ertz being drafted the year he was when he was, and I said this is a good draft pick. Now you've got a guy that's a top 3 tight end in the NFL. So has he missed on some picks? Yes, he has, but he's also hit on some picks that you maybe necessarily, you'd look at and say, oh, you should hit on that guy. He's hit on 2 second-round picks in Sanders and Ertz. Ertz is a superstar. Sanders has a chance at becoming a superstar.
And Goddard also has the chance of becoming a top-tier tight end as well.
Dallas Goedert was a phenomenal draft pick, and absolutely a guy that you look at and say has a chance of becoming a phenomenal talent and a superstar level. He looks like a Travis Kelce level of athletic freak, whether or not he can put all of that together. But when you have that level of athletic freak and you put him at the tight end position, it's history tells you it ends up pretty well. They take the Antonio Gates, the Tony Gonzalez, they take the former basketball players, and they put these freaky athletes at that position, and they end up doing pretty well.
Yeah.
But he's missed on some, sure. But I feel like he's hit on enough where it's really, really unfair to sit there and say, oh, he sucked at drafting. That's unfair. The Marcus Smith pick that everybody talks about was a Chip Kelly pick. Maybe it's fair to also say
Marcus Smith was a Howie pick in the Chip Kelly era.
Chip Kelly was head coach. Let's not act like Chip Kelly didn't have control. Let's stop. I don't care what Howie's role was.
Howie was the GM.
Like Chip was the guy pulling the trigger.
Howie was the GM.
Howie was the GM.
Sure, Howie was the GM.
But Chip Kelly wanted to draft Jordan Matthews at that pick. Howie insisted, let's draft Marcus Smith.
No, I'm not buying into that at all. For me, Chip Kelly was the guy pulling the trigger on draft pick.
Yeah, believe that. From the
moment Chip Kelly took over as head coach, Chip Kelly's way too much of a control freak for anybody else to be making any other type of decision outside of him. God, Howie Roseman might have had some say or some input. It was Chip Kelly that was pulling the trigger on draft pick. He's way too much of a control freak for anybody else to do it.
Frank is right, and Frank is right. He was he made that pick, dude. That's a Howie pick.
It was a Howie pick.
Smith. What are you talking about?
It's a Howie pick that Chip told him to make.
Bro, no, it wasn't.
Hold on. Are we really acting like Howie had control during that time? Let's not pretend like it wasn't an off-season later where Chip was the one that forced Howie right out of power and said, bye-bye, fuck you, I'm the one calling the shots now. So let's not act like Howie had any other say a year before that. Why would Howie have any say a year before that if the very next year he got relieved of his duties and Chip was calling all the shots?
I'm telling you, dude, that was a Howie draft pick.
It was a Howie pick.
It was.
No.
Are you a Howie guy?
Pick.
It was a collaborate.
Are you a Howie guy?
Feel like
answer the question. Are you a Howie guy?
I'm a bigger fan of Howie's trades.
Let me ask you this. Is this
I don't feel like Howie deserves to be fired, and we shouldn't be talking about Howie being on the hot seat in any way, shape, or form as of this moment. I think that's
getting close, though, Zach, because what I saw last year, week 8, the trade deadline, when you were running practice squads guys out and you didn't make one move for a wide receiver, that you're on notice right now, bro. You got
So who you
on you.
So tell me who you're trading for, Ralph.
I'm trading
who
for
you
trading Robbie Anderson. I'm trading for Robbie. I'm giving up a 2 for Robbie Anderson.
What were you giving up for Robbie Anderson?
A 2 or a 3.
Robbie Anderson is a free agent.
This is a guy you could sign for free as a free agent now. What the fuck would you trade? What were you're gonna give the Jets a 6th-round pick to sign a guy for free now?
So you were good with running Greg Ward out on the field.
Greg Ward turned out to be our best fucking receiver last year. Yeah, I had no problem with running Greg Ward the fuck out there.
Okay.
If it wasn't for Greg Ward, we don't win the Redskins game.
So right now, who's your wide receivers right now? Who's your wide receivers right now?
Well, that's where the draft is very deep in wide receivers, and I still think it's possible. Hold on. We're acting like the offseason's over. It's still possible we sign a Robbie Anderson. It's still possible we trade for like an Odell Beckham Jr. or something like that. Say Howie trades a 3rd-round pick for Odell Beckham Jr. You're telling me if Howie trades a 3rd-round pick for Odell Beckham Jr., you're not excited about that?
Oh, I'm really excited.
Hold on. When you look at what the Cardinals gave up for DeAndre Hopkins. If you say Howie says I give you a 4th-round pick for Odell Beckham and we get Odell Beckham, that's not a win. That's a great trade.
I'm not saying that it was a bad trade. That's a great trade. I'm saying
okay.
Sign me up any day of the week. Any day of the week.
Okay. So let me ask you something.
I'm taking it back to the trade deadline when you literally had no wide receivers on this team, Zach, and you had.
It's not that simple,
dude. He was on the trade market. They were looking to move him, dude. Come on, man.
You don't give up draft picks, but you don't trade draft picks for a guy that's going to become a free agent.
Oh my God! Why not? Why not?
Because that's what bad organizations do. You want to know what that is? This is what bad organizations do.
Okay.
The Cowboys, hold on. I'm going to explain something to you, Ralph, okay? Let me explain something to you because we ripped the Cowboys apart for this 1.5 years ago. When the Cowboys traded 1st-round picks for Amari Cooper, we sat here and literally ripped it apart because we talked about how dumb that is because if you give up a 1st-round pick for a guy with 1.5 years left on his contract, what that means is at that point the Cowboys committed to signing Amari Cooper to a long-term deal. What happened? They just signed him to a 5-year, $100 million contract. They're now going to overpay for a guy that is not worth the money they're paying for him, and they forced themselves into that position by giving up what they did in a trade for him. You do not trade what the Eagles would have given up. The Eagles probably would have given up a 5th-round pick for Robbie Anderson. I know it's a 5th-round pick, but if you're going to sign a guy this following offseason, there's absolutely no reason to give up a 5th-round pick for a guy that's going to become a free agent. Not for 8 games. You don't trade a 5th-round pick for 8 games worth of production.
But you did it with Golden Tate, though. What's the difference, Zach? You did it with Golden Tate.
I didn't say the Golden Tate trade was a good trade. When did I ever say that was a smart move?
Going back on trading draft picks.
And I was the one that said, if you remember.
We did it with Golden Tate, though, Zach. We traded a 3rd-round pick, and Golden Tate walked the following year to the Giants.
So that should tell you everything you need to know.
Oh my!
We thought
Golden Tate won us that Bears game.
Oh, good Lord! He won us a fucking Bears game. Hold on. Let me ask you something. So, can I ask you a question, Ralph?
Yeah, go ahead.
So did we not learn from this from that whole debacle with Golden Tate? When we made that trade for Golden Tate, the idea, and a lot of people were talking about it, it was assumed almost that we were going to sign Golden Tate to an extension of some kind, whether it would be 2 years, 3 years, whatever. The idea was we made that trade with the idea in mind he was going to get signed to an extension. Once you didn't sign him to an extension and he left as a free agent and went somewhere else, that trade looked a lot dumber than it did at the moment when we made it. Because we thought when we made it, we're going to sign the guy. He's going to be a part of the future plans. Once you let him walk, it became a dumb trade. Yeah, same thing here.
Same if you do, damn if you don't, though. And it was the same thing that happened at Week 8.
If we trade for Robbie Anderson at Week 8 last year, what are we all of a sudden going to go to?
We were putting on the field for Carson Wentz. Yes, absolutely.
So you're going to give up a 5th-round pick for a guy that's going to what? What were we going to do trading for Robbie Anderson?
Pick for Robbie Anderson for a trade deadline? Absolutely.
No. Why would I do that? If Robbie Anderson's going to take us to a Super Bowl, then yeah. But if he's not enough of a difference maker for that, why the hell would I?
Absolutely.
No, that's ridiculous. That's what bad organizations do.
Okay. All right.
Is Robbie Anderson enough of a difference maker where we would have went to the Super Bowl last year all of a sudden because he's in the offense?
It would have been a bigger upgrade than anything.
Oh yeah.
Come on,
I don't
dude.
disagree. He would have been an upgrade, of course, but him being an upgrade doesn't make it worth it to make that trade.
What?
That doesn't make it worth it. Me winning one playoff game isn't worth me giving up a draft pick for him. I give up a draft pick if I think he can help me get to a Super Bowl. There's no way that just trading for Robbie Anderson last year gets you to a Super Bowl. We were not.
Bro,
we had way too many injuries and way too many holes.
Bro, we were running practice squad dudes as our wide receivers onto the field. What don't you get, dude? For the majority of the season, we had practice squad.
Right. We were running practice squad guys up there.
Guys that
First of all, hold on. We weren't doing that. Hold on. No, we weren't running practice squad guys.
Noah?
We were.
Hold on. Stop.
Bernard was a practice squad dude. What are you talking about?
I'm about to punch you through my fucking computer screen. We weren't running practice squad guys out there until week 12 or 13. That was well after the trade deadline. The trade deadline now, granted, I was just as mad about us continuing to run Nelson Aguilar out there at that point too, but the bottom line was, with Nelson Aguilar making the money he was, they weren't going to trade for somebody and run somebody else out there. That was what it was. If Alshon Jeffrey was healthy, he was going to be trotted out there. That was what it was. It wasn't until Jeffrey went down in the Miami game, and it wasn't until, Aguilar kind of fell out of, the good graces because he sucked so much ass that they had no fucking choice. That was after the trade deadline that all those things happened. The idea of making that move happen at the deadline, it looks good now, but you got to think Alshon was healthy, Aguilar was healthy, and they weren't going to trade for somebody and play them over those two guys at that time.
Alshon Jeffrey was a shell of himself last year.
I completely agree. You can go back and look at my Facebook. It was all over my Facebook. Alshon Jeffrey sucked ass last year. The only thing that we paid him for is to win 50-50 balls. He's not fast anymore. Yeah. The idea was he's a guy that Carson can throw 50-50 balls to and he'll win them. And he didn't win any 50-50 balls. Yep. So in my opinion, he was a waste of money. But it's not our opinion that counted. We all know the Eagles organization wasn't going to trade for somebody and play them over Alshon Jeffrey at that point. That wasn't going to happen. If we traded for Robbie Anderson at the deadline, he's going to be our fourth receiver at that point.
I don't know, dude. I don't know.
Third receiver at best. I mean,
I would say third receiver. Yes, I would agree with that. Third receiver.
And Jeffrey are playing over him, and he's still going to rotate.
And you were out with your
side and guys like that.
At that point, though, you got to remember at this point, you didn't have a deep threat at all. So what teams were doing
I don't disagree, and that was a huge miss in this offense.
Yeah, and at that point of that season, when you lost to Sean Jackson, that deep threat was gone. So teams were loading the box 8 to 9 players every play because they knew you didn't have a deep threat. Robbie Anderson could have been that deep threat for you.
That doesn't mean
it is, but it's in the past. He's in the past, like you said. He's a free agent now, and you can sign him now. So I want Robbie Anderson. I think I would take him. I would take him right now.
I would think the point that you're making is a better point for why we should sign him now than it was for why we should have traded for him then. All the reasons to trade for him then are the reasons we need to sign him now because he's such a home run threat. He's a guy that can stretch the field. He's a guy that is explosive over the top.
It's the same reasons why you should have traded for him in week 8 last year.
But it's different. Hold on. But this is what I'm saying now. We can agree to disagree. It's perfect that we can agree to disagree on it. But draft picks are valuable. We're seeing how valuable they are now. You see right now, you never know how valuable an extra 5th-round pick's going to be. You get to throw an extra 5th-round pick in as a kicker in a trade. You could throw a 1st, a 3rd, and a 5th-round pick in and an extra kicker as a trade to get a guy that you really want come draft time. It's a lot better to sign a guy. If you sign Robbie Anderson now, what are you signing him for? 3 years, 4 years? How much money are you really breaking the bank for him? No. But if you traded a 5th-round pick for him and then also signed him to that contract, now that's a lot more to give up for a guy, that he's a nice player. He fits well in this offense. He's something that you need as far as he stretches the field and he's a home run threat over the top. But he's not Randy Moss. He's not Terrell Owens. It's not DeAndre Hopkins. You know what I mean? He's not a guy that's a game breaker.
But I understand. But what I'm just saying is that at that moment of time, you needed an upgrade at the wide receiver position, and he was the best one available with him and Emmanuel Sanders was the best one available to bring in. Yep. At that point, though, Zach, you can't disagree with that. Well, we were running
If
out.
they traded for him. But again, if they traded for him, he's not playing over who we have. You're acting as if Alshon and Nelson
Yes, he
Aguilar were
was.
injured at this point, and they
Yes,
weren't.
He does. Hey, dude, Nelson gets kicked to
Nelson sucked, but they were paying Nelson $9 million a year. They weren't going to play Robbie Anderson over him.
Was dropping everything.
Well, of course, but they weren't. That doesn't mean anything. I didn't want them to play Nelson Aguilar from the fucking Lions game on, but we got to see him for another 8 fucking weeks because that's what happens when you make $9 million a year. They're not going to trade for Robbie Anderson at the deadline and tell Nelson Aguilar to take a seat because it's not the way the fucking business works.
I
This
know,
is a
I'm
business.
just saying. There's got to be something to it, brother. There has to be.
Well, if
I
you've
totally
watched football
understand
for long enough, you understand that it's more than just what somebody's doing on the field. There's a lot more to it from a business perspective. If a guy's making $9 million, he's $9 million a year as a wide receiver, he's going to get a lot more chances to get.
That's why I think no matter what happens this offseason or going into the season, we're stuck with Alshon Jeffrey with that contract.
Well, the new CBA makes it possible to cut him. I wouldn't be surprised with all the extra cap space Howie's now created. I think he's going to find a way out of this Alshon contract. I think he's going to eat the dead money and he's going to cut him. I really think he's going to find a way out.
I think he's either going to get cut or traded. Either way.
I would love to think you could trade him, but who the fuck's going to trade anything for him, especially because he's probably going to be hurt for half the year.
Yeah, he's going to be hurt for a while. And plus, you also have that contract as well. So it's like, all right, do we want to take a risk for a guy who's probably going to come back at the tail end of this upcoming season? I just don't know what you could do with him at this point. So for me, I know Ralph, me and Ryan were talking about this a while ago, stay or go, and I said he stays for now, but I think he gets shipped around the deadline.
Yeah. So Philly Fan 2003 says, do you think we should go after Yannick? If we do, should we give a first-round pick for him, or should we save the pick for a wide receiver in the draft?
Our defensive line is solid now. I mean, with all the moves we made, our defensive line, we've got quite a few studs on that line. We can rotate them in and out. They're going to stay fresh. We've got a couple guys that can play inside and outside. They can play, defensive tackle as well as playing defensive end and create pressure from both positions. Our defensive line is set at the moment. There's not going to be any more money committed to that defensive line. It is what it is at this very moment.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with that. It's going to be if you were going to, if you brought that question to me before we got Hargrave the other day,
right,
I think it was a possibility. But like you said, I think the front four on the defensive side of the ball and as a team as a whole is the only spot that's locked down right now that has, that's set in stone. Every other position on this team outside of defensive line and I guess you could say offensive line and quarterback, everything else, someone has a question mark to it.
Mm-hmm.
I would say not that it has a question mark, but it's unfinished. And there's, with free agency and the draft and all that, there's still obviously plenty of opportunities to put the finishing touches on it. The Darius Slay trade's obviously huge. We wanted to sit here and bitch about Howie and all these things. That's why I said that's where Howie's at his best. But you know what? When you look around the NFL, all the bad football teams are the teams that overpay for free agents. Like, that's really all the bad football teams are the ones that overpay for free agents. It's the good football teams that are the ones that are making the deals like this. Like, did we overpay for Darius Slay a little bit? Yeah, but it's a 3-year deal.
Yeah.
You can find your way out of a 3-year deal after 2 years. That's much better than signing somebody to a 5-year 85. Like, Byron Jones gets signed to a 5-year $85 million contract. Good. The Dolphins had some money to spend. They needed to make some moves. They've got a lot of holes. Great, good for them. It makes sense. But when you look at from a smart football move perspective, what do good football teams do? They make the moves like Howie just did to get Darius Slay. You make a trade of that kind where for a guy that has the potential to be, he was a superstar quality player as soon as 2 years ago, and you're giving up a 3rd and 5th round pick for a guy. That's not a lot, when you're hoping the guy's going to get back to top 10 at his position type level. And if you get top 10 level production or top 10, at his position production out of him for what you gave up with the contract you're paying him, that's what good football teams do. And I'd much rather have that contract as opposed to Byron Jones in the 5 years and $85 million.
Yeah. So Bill says if you're going to have to if you're going to have to pay him, why not trade him? He's talking about Alshon Jeffrey.
Yeah.
We're going to have to pay him anyway. Why not trade him to move up in the draft? If we agree to pay his salary for the year, they get a free Alshon for a year, and we move up. You're going to pay him anyway, or cut him and lose how much?
Because he doesn't have any type of value. Like even throwing him in as a kicker and saying we'll pay his salary. I really don't think he has any value. I don't see any football team that looks at a guy that is now, he's 30 years old and he's been banged up his entire career to begin with, and now he's coming off an injury that it's a Liz Frank injury, if I'm not mistaken.
It's the same injury that Jalen Mills had, and Jalen Mills didn't sniff the field until week 13, week 14 of the.
And Jalen Mills is much younger. But if we're gonna be fair, let's say it's the same injury that Chad Lewis had, and Chad Lewis had ended his career. It's the same injury that quite a few wide receivers have had, and it's if not ended their career, it's put them on the severe downward spiral of their career where they've never recovered. I don't see any team seeing value in a 30-year-old Alshon Jeffrey that's been hurt pretty much every year of his career up to this point, and now coming off an injury that for a lot of guys has been a career ender or at least a career disabler. I don't even think he has throw-in value. You couldn't even throw him in a trade and think it has any value.
Yeah.
It's not worth it.
So it's going to be interesting to see what we do with Alshon. It's going to be very interesting. Very interesting.
Even if they keep him, let's say they keep him on that contract, and this is why I say I think they're going to cut him. We're obviously going to draft a couple wide receivers. Where we draft them and what round we draft them, maybe that's debatable. But obviously we're going to draft a couple wide receivers. So if you're saying we're going to draft a couple wide receivers and we expect at least one of those guys to start, say we sign a Robbie Anderson or we make a trade for a guy of some sort, then we expect that guy to start. Deshaun Jackson's going to be back and probably going to have a big role. Arcega-Whiteside will have a role of some kind. There's going to be a lot of bodies, I feel like, at wide receiver this year, which is good because we're going to need a lot because we saw last year just how valuable that is.
Yeah.
But say Alshon's your third or fourth wide receiver, you're not paying him $14 million or whatever the fuck we're paying him to be your third or fourth wide receiver. No. They're going to cut him just for the principle of that alone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Unless he's your first or year one or two, they're not paying him that. They're just going to cut him just because that's how the business works.
So Alex Berg says, I know I'm excited for the Redskins this year. God.
Well, you know what? I'll say this. They obviously have a lot of work. But Ron Rivera is the best head coach they've had in there in a long, long time.
You think Cam Newton's a possibility to go there? If he gets cut or traded?
No. Because from everything I've read and heard, Daniel Snyder is committed to Dwayne Haskins.
Gotcha.
And to be honest, I think you saw enough from Haskins at the end of last year where he at least has earned another year to kind of see what he can be. He was never supposed to play last year. He was super young. He was 21. He came out after his junior year. He got thrown into the fire a little early. But as the year went on, he got better. He had some moments where he said, okay, this guy looks like he can play. He wasn't Josh Rosen out there where you're like, this dude looks fucking helpless.
Yeah.
So I think it's a little unfair for them to give up on him at this very moment. It just seems silly, especially when you have a guy like Ron Rivera, who I feel is a good leader of men. And if there's anybody that you wanted grooming a young quarterback, it's a guy like that who went through this process before with a guy like Cam. So I would think they're going to stick with Dwayne Haskins for at least one more year and then go from there.
Do you think Cam's going to get released or even traded if they? Because the rumor, rumor is that they can't find a trade partners. No teams are biting, so he's probably going to get released.
He's not staying in Carolina. That relationship.
There's no way he's staying in Carolina. No way.
Yeah,
with how everything unfolded. Yeah.
You see this in sports all the time. Once a broken relationship happens, it's over. Over.
There's no putting the pieces back together.
No.
Yeah.
Once it's a broken relationship, and you saw this with Hopkins in Houston. and the whole report that came out with him and Bill O'Brien. And Bill O'Brien's a fucking moron. Can we talk about this for at least a couple minutes?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go into it.
If there's a fireable offense as a head coach for like making the playoffs, like Eagles fans went through this 25 years ago, 30 years ago. Ask Noah about this. Ralph, you're a little bit too young, but ask somebody like Noah or even Tom about this. The Eagles fired Buddy Ryan during a time when he took the Eagles to like 3 or 4 straight playoffs. And the idea was, I can't get fired as a head coach if I took a team to like the playoffs that many years in a row. But there was a lot of tension between Buddy Ryan and between ownership at that time, and it just kind of broke down. And when a relationship breaks down, people get fired. Just like when, a relationship breaks down between a coach and a player, somebody ends up getting traded.
Yeah.
The only difference is usually you can find a way to defend the organization, and I don't see any way to defend the Houston Texans at this very moment. This just sounds fucking stupid on their part to trade DeAndre Hopkins. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck if the Cardinals offered you the fucking moon and the whole city of Phoenix. Okay, Like I don't give a fuck what they offered you. Like you don't trade somebody. I think it was Brickman came out and said you don't trade guys that are potential future Hall of Famers. You know what? You don't. Guys that are potential future Hall of Famers. This is the reason Larry Fitzgerald's been with the Cardinals for 20 fucking years. Okay, you just. When you have a guy that is a future Hall of Famer, you find a way to keep him as a part of your organization because it just makes sense for so many reasons outside of football.
The thing that blows my mind is that at the time when Clowney wanted to get traded too, I mean they traded Clowney to the Seahawks for nothing as well. Yep. I mean what was that 3rd round pick and two linebackers they got and the two of the linebackers that they got for him, everybody's like, who are these two guys? Nobody's heard of them.
Wasn't like one of them Barkevious Mingo or something?
Yeah.
Okay, but Clowney to me is a very overrated player. I feel like he was overhyped. His value was kind of overrated, and the potential of what you could get for him. Like he's not a guy that's like. People try to like make him out. Oh, he's such a superstar player. I don't think he makes that much of a difference on your defense. Like he's not that type of player.
What I'm saying is that you didn't get a first pick or multiple first picks for 2 of those players.
Exactly.
Like for DeAndre, you didn't get a first for DeAndre Hopkins, and you didn't even get a first for Clowney. I'm just saying, both of those trades are horrendous, though, Zach. Horrendous. You didn't get nothing. You didn't get nothing back.
The Hopkins trade, I agree. The Hopkins trade's horrendous. To not get a 1st round pick or to not get something back in return, like to get David Johnson and like a couple of like draft picks with neither one of them being 1st round picks, that's bad. If you were to get a 1st round pick and a 24-year-old guy that you feel like you can build around your team in some way, better trade. But for Hopkins, that was a horrible trade. Clowney, I feel like Clowney's more of a guy that like everybody looks at him as a superstar, but you weren't really going to get the value that everybody felt like they should have for him. So I don't know. That trade to me didn't bother me, but the Hopkins trade's absurd. You know what the Hopkins trade is? That's what happens when you're a head coach like Bill O'Brien, who comes from a Bill Belichick coaching tree and wants to act like you're Bill Belichick and have the attitude and the personality and all that of Bill Belichick, but nobody respects like you're Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick can get away with doing what he does because people respect him at that level.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Well, count his fingers, bro. Count his fingers.
Right. All you got to do is count the rings, and you're like, okay, I respect this guy.
Yeah.
So he can get away with that shit because of the of the Super Bowl and the championship factor. But Bill O'Brien wants to try to do the same thing, and players aren't going to respond to it in the same way. And that's kind of what I feel this situation was. Who the fuck are you to walk into a meeting with your best player, a guy that's probably the best wide receiver in football, at least arguably, he's up there with Michael Thomas, and, you put him in the conversation with all those other guys. And you're going to sit here and tell him, I don't like the fact that your baby mamas hang around my complex. I don't like the influence you have in the locker room. Fuck you! What type of influence did you want him to have in the locker room? Excuse me, are your best players not supposed to have that type of influence in the locker room? Are your superstar players not supposed to be the guys that have the best influence in the locker room and have the ability to rally guys around them and get young players to want to rally around them and say, hey, whatever you say, I'm going to do that? Like, is that not what you want your best players to do? And anybody that heard DeAndre Hopkins' story with his mom, and and everything, to go along with, her attack back in the day and her being blind now. Like, this is a good kid. He's a kid that you want leading young men. He's a kid that you want leading the young football players on your teams. Why would you, in any way, shape, or form, do something like that in a meeting to make him feel as if he's lesser than what he is?
It was just crazy when that trade went down. You didn't even get a first round pick for a top 3 wide receiver at all. And they traded for an injury prone David Johnson, who's been banged up for the last 3 years now.
Right.
Well, he's the definition of a throw-in. That's what we're talking about. Like Alshon is a throw-in. That's what the Cardinals did with David Johnson. They made him as a throw-in, but at least he's healthy going into the year. And if you're the Texans, you think at least he's another running back we have, and you can have 3 running backs and rotate carries between them and have it be successful. We've obviously seen that happen.
Yeah.
But let's have a little bit of fun getting away from football for right now with quarantine activities, because I told Ralph earlier, I'm playing Grand Theft Auto right now. I'm playing San Andreas from way back in the day, like 15 years ago. It's the remastered version for the Xbox 360. So all the graphics are better now and shit.
Yeah.
But I remember playing it and beating it when I was like 12 years old. So it's really, really cool to play it now and try to beat it again. Ralph, I mean, we already know we know what you're doing. You're a gamer, so you're playing video games probably 24/7.
Oh, absolutely.
Are you not?
Absolutely. This is the best. Everybody's in my world now. So welcome to my world. You get to sit back, relax, nobody bugs you, you're in your zone, you're good to go.
Frank, what are you doing in this quarantine?
Crying.
Why are you being such a bitch?
One, I'm out of work for several weeks, so what should I be doing?
Here's a fun story. So Wawa CEO made the announcement that starting this week, this past Monday, that I just started working, everybody's getting $3 an hour more. So I worked 45 hours this week with $3 an hour or more than usual, so that's going to be a hell of a paycheck. But on top of that, I had my oldest brother's wedding was last week. That was a lot of fun. He got married on Friday the 13th, so that was a bunch of fun. And my middle brother was there, and he wouldn't stop talking about the coronavirus, and just like
how many
pretty much this was his wedding. Like we already know that like the virus is a big deal, and he's at the wedding talking about like the percentages say that at least one person here already has the virus, and therefore anybody else here hanging out at the wedding is in risk of getting it. Like, can you shut the fuck up and leave everything alone? Like, the last place I want to hear about this is at a fucking wedding. You know what I mean? Can I just have a good time and enjoy myself at a wedding?
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
It's crazy up here. Everything is getting shut down and stuff like that. But yeah, like you were saying with the whole video game situation, welcome to my world, baby. You're in my world now. So it's awesome. Everybody's on. It's awesome.
But on a serious note, what I've been doing, I've been walking outside my house a little bit, doing yard work.
You sound like such an old fucking man.
Well, what am I supposed to be doing?
I would expect Tom's dad to say something like that. I've been going for walks around the house and wherever the fuck they live now. Where do they live? Blackwood?
They live in Runnymede.
Runnymede.
Or what's it called?
Belmar?
No, aren't they supposed to be in Florida again?
No, but they couldn't come down here. I don't think they came down here because of everything that happened.
Oh, that's true.
Nice. So what have you been doing for quarantine, Zach?
Well, I've been working, but when I'm not working, I'm at home and I do nothing.
I want to ask you: has NASCAR been shut down yet? Are they done?
They're not. They've canceled every race until May 3rd. But here's what's cool about NASCAR is, and they actually just televised this today on Fox Sports 1. But NASCAR is kind of at the leading curve of this technology phase.
Yeah.
And they've got these simulators. Have you ever been in like a flight simulator or a roller coaster simulator or anything like that?
Yeah.
And like how realistic it is?
Yeah.
Well, what these race teams do is they have these simulators that the drivers get in, and it's pretty much the racetracks like the racetracks, they use these lasers to record the racetracks so that they get in these simulators, and it's almost as if they're in this simulator and they're driving on the racetrack for real. That's how accurate these simulators are. Like the racetracks, you can feel the bumps. You're going into the curb, into the turn the same way. All the characteristics of the racetrack, of the asphalt of the racetrack, they can feel it in this simulator. And they've actually, the new thing with NASCAR now is a lot of these young drivers are, instead of getting in go-karts and stuff like that at a young age, they're sitting behind like a computer screen, a monitor, and they're doing the NASCAR simulator, the eNASCAR and the iSimulator thing. And a guy like William Byron, who actually drives for Hendrick Motorsports now in the 24 car, that's how he got his start. He didn't start racing cars for real until he was 18 or 19 years old. He was doing iRacing up until that point. So today, what they did was they had all the like the NASCAR drivers that race in real life. They had about 15 or 20 of them race in the iRacing simulator, and they televised it on Fox Sports 1, and it was apparently so realistic that fans were watching it and digging it so much. They were like, this is so realistic, I could actually watch this every week and enjoy it, to the point where like you could run it.
It's a filler gap right now for them. Yeah. And it's a great idea.
And there was another thing I saw too, that Reddit, the college basketball subreddit, was simulating the 2020 NCAA tournament with College Hoops 2K8, and people are getting way into it. It's hilarious.
That's amazing.
Because one thing I saw was that they simulated 15th seed North Dakota State upsetting Florida State, the declared national champions according to the state of Florida.
Yeah.
North Dakota State pulls off the upset, and Florida State fans in the discussion got upset. Hey, I need that game.
There you go.
How about this? In my coaching legacy dynasty in this game, I'm actually in year 2022 or something like that. I've won a national championship. I'm the head coach of Wisconsin. It's fucking awesome.
Oh, you're still playing Badger ball, right?
I'm telling you, bro, when you dive into college games like that, man, you just go right down the rabbit hole. Time flies, years pass.
Love it.
Since we're talking about quarantine, let's see all the cool games. Ralph, I've got some cool games. Let's see if you can top some of these.
What do you got? LA Noir, okay. You don't even have the Xbox. You don't even have the Xbox One.
I don't have the Xbox One.
You need to upgrade, dude.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have the money like that, homie.
That sucks.
Hey, that extra $3 an hour can help.
Keep it coming.
That's legit. That's old school there.
That's old school, bro. There you go.
In that game, I control the Cubs in 2007 when they suck ass.
Yeah, you just rebuild them? Yeah.
Dude, I traded for Miguel Cabrera, Josh Hamilton. Josh Hamilton was a Rule 5 pick of the Reds that year.
Pimp, bro. He's a pimp in that game.
Here's a fun fact. Josh Hamilton was actually a Rule 5 pick of the Cubs in December of 2007, and or December of 06, and they traded him to the Reds. But he was actually a Rule 5 draft pick of the Cubs.
That's sick.
The more you know.
Imagine if they actually would have been a smart organization and kept him instead of trading him, what would have fucking happened?
Yeah. That's a great question. That's a great question. There you go. Tommy says he missed the NCAA. Yo, Tommy.
I love NCAA.
They might be coming out with one, brother. 2021.
Excited.
GTA 5.
Hold on. You got the whole stack over there. There you go.
Which one is that? Is that 12?
Yep.
Yeah, that's 12.
Yeah, you know who's on the cover?
It's Mark Ingram.
Mark Ingram.
There you go. I'm surprised you knew that.
Are you surprised I knew that? I know shit, Ralph. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Oh, I love it.
Oh, you fucking stupid ass.
I love it. Who's that? Who's that on the cover?
Are you fucking kidding me right now? That's David Beckham.
Yeah.
Ah, yes, David Beckham, star of Galatasaray of Turkey.
Jesus.
Oh, you
love it.
fucking idiots.
I love it.
So how about this? So this is how bored I've been, how much I've missed sports. I found a Baseball Tonight episode from 2008 on YouTube yesterday, and man, if I was watching the shit out of that, man, was that fucking awesome. It was from like July of 2008. It was a Baseball Tonight episode. They were showing highlights of like Shane Victorino hitting a triple or some crazy shit. Charlie Manuel came out and argued with some umpire.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Bill Middlebrook, fuck you. I don't give a fuck what your 11-year-old son. He's got an Xbox One. Good. Fuck him.
Jesus Christ, Zach.
Be nice,
Relax.
Zach. Bill's good people.
You probably bought it for him, Bill. Let's be honest. It's not like he bought the shit. You bought it for him. If you buy me an Xbox One, I'll play it too.
Jesus.
I saw your 11-year-old won some type of science fair or something.
Good old, you know.
Ooh,
can you stop doing that?
Yeah, so I saw Wilson was doing like a 10,000-piece crossword puzzle. In my opinion, that doesn't belong anywhere near a top 5 quarantine activity.
No, that puzzles are out the window.
Hey, I love crosswords.
I'm not a fan of crosswords.
I mean, my top 5 are obviously it's video games 1, video games 2, video games 3. I think I'll put video games 4, and maybe make the jump to video games for the 5th spot. So that's my top 5.
You need to start drinking.
No, I'm not a big drinker. You know, it is what it is. Yeah.
Not only is this a packed blue ribbon,
you're probably
look,
on your 15th one.
Alcohol,
yeah,
6.5%.
Yeah, you're already on your 5th one already.
Ooh.
Hey, it might be more than that.
I love it. I love it.
Ralph, you're in your basement. Your light's blinding me. Frank, where are you at?
Somewhere.
That's fucking creepy.
He's at a remote location.
I am at a remote location. Parts unknown.
That's creepy.
I can't do anything about the light. There you go. Is that better for you, Zach?
Yeah, that's better for me.
That sucks because I ain't holding my hand up. Now we got 3 more minutes to go. Anything? I mean, NFL wise, sports wise.
We can go longer than 3 minutes if you guys want. I mean, we're having a good time here.
I only got an hour.
You only got an hour? What the hell do you have to do in the morning, Ralph?
Nothing, but this has to get going sometime sooner or later.
Oh, is that what that's got to get going? Ralph, really? Priorities here, bro. Are you more worried about A2D or are you worried about your Xbox?
Man, you're putting me in a tough position.
Really? You better hope Tommy's not listening.
Well, you know what? It sucks. I would probably have to say my Xbox right now.
Your Xbox is more important. We're going until 10:15 because we're legitimately listing. We got to have our top 5 quarantined activities.
I told you what my top 5 was.
Yeah, yours are stupid. I know. You've got video games for all fucking 5 of them. I'm cool with video games being in them, and video games might be at the top because you can, like, every video game imaginable, like, you can come across. Like, for example, well, first of all, here, speaking of quarantine activities, there's a cool Phillies DVD.
That's nice. Baseball Greatest Games.
Yeah. Oh, this was a good series. You need to watch that show.
No, I'm not watching.
No.
There you go.
There you go. You probably play the shit out of that, don't you?
Did I play the shit out of it? Speaking of classics, hold on.
There you go.
Oh, yay.
Who's on the cover?
March Madness.
Is that
06?
Who's on the cover?
Oh my God! What's his name? Ty Lawson.
Yeah, there you go. See, you're getting good at this. You're getting better.
For some reason, I was thinking of the other Carolina player because there was another Carolina player on the 2K series.
You know nothing about any of this. Do you play poker, Ralph?
No, I don't play poker.
I know you suck so much ass.
Oh, I love it. All right, you got 20 seconds, Zach. You want to tell anybody out there about your important things?
You gotta name some other type of activity that's going to be better than here you go. Here's another classic.
There you go. Who's that on the cover?
Your mother.
Hey now.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Yeah, where's Sean Watson? Can we not get Sean Watson in here to make this official?
I have no clue.
Well, you have no clue. He's your family.
He's probably on doing
You have no clue. Hold on. Here you go. Here you go. That's a good game.
There you go. Who's on the cover?
And it's some soldier for Call of Duty.
All right, who's on the cover for that?
That's Mike Tyson and Muhammad. It's Mike Tyson and Cassius Clay.
Oh, nice.
Do you know who Cassius Clay is?
That's not Cassius Clay, dude. That's Mike Tyson and Muhammad Ali.
Yeah, you don't know who Cassius Clay is then, do you?
No. Well, a little bit, yeah.
Who's Cassius Clay?
He's a boxer.
Frank, who's Cassius Clay? Help my man out.
Isn't it Muhammad Ali before he converted?
Yeah. Before Muhammad Ali converted to being a Muslim, converted to Islam, he was Cassius Clay. And then he converted to Islam and became Muhammad Ali.
Nice.
Come on, bro. Get with the program. By the way, if you want to piss anybody off that's a boxing fan, go piss Greg Milekovich off by telling him Mike Tyson's one of the most overrated boxers to ever live.
You go do that.
Yeah.
I already pissed my brother off. Did you see my brother come attack me on Facebook when I made that comment?
No.
Sure.
Sorry.
2 weeks ago, I said Mike Tyson's one of the most overrated boxers to ever live. And he told me to shut up. I sound dumb.
Really?
The plan is to keep Ralph on the air for as long as possible because he's not allowed to go play video games in place of this. That's ridiculous.
No, bro. Come on.
So, do you add watching old sporting events on YouTube? Does that go to your top 5 quarantine activities or not?
Oh, dude,
Sure.
you can find a lot of old sports on YouTube and stuff like that. A lot. You can go back.
Were you watching old Phillies World Series game on YouTube just
Like,
because?
you can actually find like highlights of like the whole entire 08 like season and postseason.
You know what's fun?
What?
I go and watch old NFL primetime episodes, like old school NFL primetime episodes, like 1998 and shit, like before you were born.
Yeah.
And like I watch old school NFL primetime episodes, and it's phenomenal, dude. It's like I'm happy as a pig and shit. I can watch it all day fucking long.
I just don't know. I can't do that though. I can watch highlights of like old games. I just can't do that. Watch old highlights of shows like that. I can't do that.
Why not? You can watch old games for 2 hours, but you can't watch a 30-minute episode of NFL primetime?
I can't do it. I don't know why.
What is wrong with you?
Like,
How much porn do you watch? Is porn? Why
are we getting into this, bro?
Porn? No, because let's be honest here. Regardless of what the three of us think, I bet you if we ran a poll here, porn is going to be in the top 5 quarantine activities. We know it is. Ask Noah Eaton how much this will be in. You know, I guarantee you, there's going to be a lot of porn watched as far as quarantine activities go. Ralph, you're laughing like a fucking child. This is a grown man. We're having a grown man conversation, and you're over here laughing like you're a child.
I'm just riding the wave. That's all.
I guarantee you. Go look at the views on YouPorn and tell me the views on YouPorn haven't gone through the roof over the last week or so with the coronavirus keeping everybody indoors. I guarantee you there's a lot more spank banking going on there than there ever was from before. Okay? People are jerking their gherkin a lot harder and more aggressively than they ever were. Okay? And that spank banking is coming to better use than it ever did in the past.
Okay. That's nice.
Y'all are no fun. I realize next time I'm going on the air with Tom, seriously. Because y'all are no fun at all.
I'm just here so I won't get fined by Tommy.
And Ralph invited me.
Let you take, like, Ralph, you were supposed to take the lead of the show and turn this into an episode of the Ralph Delavecchio show, and you didn't.
What was I supposed to do? You're the host. It's your show.
Yeah.
But, like,
Your
you guys
show.
were supposed to take the lead and do most of the talking. I was the
No.
one drinking. I was the one drinking.
Oh, so then we would have kicked you off, bring Ryan on. This would have been an entire show of the fix. Hey, Brian.
No, I was told I was allowed to drink because Brian Wilson was drinking, like on the show last week or whatever. So. He was also apparently doing other things, but we can't talk about that. So.
That's nice.
Okay.
Oh, shut the hell up, Ralph. First of all, Ralph, you know what? You know what I noticed, Ralph? He looks like, you know, the goat boy creature from the Chronicles of Narnia?
Narnia?
Ralph looks like goat boy from the Chronicles of Narnia. Ralph, you need to do something about that beard or something, bro, because that's just bad.
I'm getting it trimmed tomorrow.
Are you tomorrow? Who's trimming it?
My mother.
My mother or yours?
My mother.
No. I was about to say, you're going to go violate social distancing rules and go out and let somebody cut your hair?
Nah. We do it from home.
I
got to go. You know, you can't grow this type of stuff, so you know you're not used to it.
I mean, yeah, my Facebook picture clearly has me growing a beard, but
no,
it's what it
doesn't.
is.
No, it doesn't.
They won't let me grow a beard anymore. I have to shave my facial hair if I want to umpire high school and college baseball.
You have to. What did you say?
I have to shave my facial hair if I want to umpire high school and college baseball. I have to shave my facial hair.
Oh, really? All of it?
Yeah.
You can't even have like a mustache or anything? It just has to be clean shaved?
Nah.
Wow.
Kind of shave.
Gotcha.
You know what another good activity is? Speaking of umpiring, I spent the past 2 days watching nothing but like old umpiring ejections, like old managers. Like I watched Earl Weaver get ejected and Bobby Cox get ejected. I've seen ejections from probably 2008 until like 2014 over the past 2 years. There's a whole YouTube playlist of them, man. It's fucking phenomenal.
You're
Go watch Larry Boa get ejected. And go watch Charlie Manuel get ejected from back when
Remember the one with Ryan Howard? I think they were playing the Astros in like the top of the 13th inning.
And he ran down the third baseline and almost got Barry in the mouth.
Yeah.
Yes, got Barry.
Yep. I love it.
That needle dick motherfucker. Oh man, I'm gonna get in so much trouble. You know what's funny? So I got in trouble with my umpiring organization because I was watching an Eagles game and I kept commenting on Facebook about how awful I thought the officiating was in the Eagles game. Yeah. And my umpiring organization got mad at me and they told me I'm not allowed to criticize officiating as an official sports official. I'm not allowed to criticize other sports officials. That's a violation of my contract. And they yelled at me, and apparently I could get fired, and I could if I became a college umpire at some point in the future, I could get fired and relieved of my duties for criticizing other sports officials.
Jesus, wow.
How retarded! So I kind of find myself at a conflict of interest because I'm trying to be entertaining and do sports radio, which kind of has to involve me telling Joe West that he sucks monkey balls, or kind of has to involve me, watching an Eagles game and talking about how bad I think the officiating is. But at the same time, I also have to umpire and act like I think all officials are awesome. It's really, really complicated. I don't know how to make it happen without, getting myself in trouble.
It's a tough situation you're in.
No, fuck you. I need your advice here.
I don't know.
What would you do if you were in my shoes, Ralph?
I don't know. Write it in a diary.
If somebody told you that you had to stop criticizing the officials, could you do it?
No. I would just do it
right?
anyway.
Right, that's what I'm saying. You couldn't stop. You'd have to keep criticizing them and telling them how much they suck, right?
Yeah.
So, what am I supposed to do? What's more important?
You were a fan before an umpire, so your fanhood becomes.
So A2D radio is more important, so therefore I should keep criticizing officials?
Well, it's up to you. I mean, it's your decision. You know.
I feel like you guys should criticize officials for me. That way I don't have to.
All right, brother. Well, anything else you gotta say, dude, before we get out of here?
Well, Bill wants to know where your mother's meatloaf is at. So
Meatloaf. You like meatloaf? I love meatloaf. I'm gonna go have some.
Meatloaf.
I'm gonna go have some.
I'm sure you love meatloaf. Ralph, I can imagine. I don't think there's a single meal that's come across your dinner table that you haven't been a fan of. Like, does your grandmother cook anything that you don't eat?
No. We're all good over here, brother.
I'm sure Grandmama Della Vecchio, I'm sure she cooks great everything. Pasta, spaghetti, all of it.
Yep.
You need to send some to Florida. 215 Orange View Lane, apartment D5. Make sure you send some meat.
Why did you do that? All right,
you need to send some meatloaf in a leftover container, and that way I can try your grandmama's meatloaf.
All right, I will. Anything else to say to the people before we get out of here, Zach?
Yes.
Are you going on next week? Before we get out of here?
I plan on going on next week. I can't believe you guys are dipping out on me like this.
I can't believe it's not butter.
All right. I'm Ralph.
I'm Frank.
Zach. Well, I'll maybe see you with Zach another time, but right now we're going to be out of here.
Yeah.
Wait, Zach.
Apparently, Ralph's got video games to play. That's more important than this.
Wave, Zach. Wave. See you guys.
Yeah.